top Democratic official and former governor of Virginia, Terry McAuliffe, was on a Zoom meeting, I should say, with other Democrats, and he admitted something interesting about Biden's strategy.
People say all the time, oh, we got to get the vice president out of the basement. He's fine in the basement. 2 people see him a day, his 2 body people. That's it. And let Trump keep doing what Trump's doing. It's hard for the vice president to break through. You've got the COVID crisis. He's not a governor, doesn't have a National Guard. He's not the president, doesn't have the briefing room. He needs to come out strategically. And when he says something like he did on race relations 2 days ago, it needs to have a big impact, thoughtful. And that's what we're preferring that he actually do at the time. He's doing a lot of local. He's talking to 2-3 governors a day. He's doing roundtables, Zoom calls. He's doing with local officials. And a lot of it's being done in those 6 battleground states that we have going forward.
I told you guys. I was the first one to go out there and say, if I was Biden, I would just hide. If I was his team, I would hide him. And that's his best strategy moving forward. Why? He has trouble talking. He's definitely in cognitive decline. There's no doubt about that. And also, he kind of has a little bit of the Hillary syndrome going on. Hillary syndrome is the more you're in front of people, the less they like you. The more you're away, the more they like you. So that's what happened when before she hopped into the race in 2016, people remember this, she had high approval ratings. So then when she started talking and she went out there, it dropped and dropped and dropped and dropped and dropped. And then Bernie got out there, and the more Bernie talked, the more people liked him. So Biden's got a little bit of that going on. It's not as bad as Hillary. There's a more visceral thing with Hillary where people are just like, I just don't like her at all. With Biden, he's got a little bit more of the affable Uncle Joe thing. So it's not as bad as Hillary. With the more people see him, the less they like him. But when you're in cognitive decline and he can't talk, yeah, of course you should hide him. Duh. Beyond that, look at the state of the country, man. You have COVID-19, you have civil unrest, you have the police brutality, you have an economic depression. That speaks for itself. And then you have a guy who very clearly doesn't know how to deal with it. And he's like, not a steady hand of leadership at all. So, this really is a situation. It developed very quickly into a situation where it's kind of like the 2008 election where the country hated George Bush. He had like a 20-something% approval rating by the time he left office. And any Democrat could have won that election. And Obama did, not taking away from his skills as a campaigner, but really any Democrat could have won that election. Trump is in so much trouble right now, I genuinely believe if it was Mayor Pete versus Trump, Mayor Pete would be winning. If it was Amy Klobuchar versus Trump, Amy Klobuchar would be winning. If it was Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, any of them. Because you're now becoming the default option. Usually, an incumbent president is the default option. And if you go back to before COVID, Trump was the default option. And it was the uphill climb for the Democrat. But after all these things now piling on top of each other, the timing for Trump with his election is just abysmal. And all he has to do is hide. So anyway, yet again, I was onto something. And earlier than everybody else, when I first said it, everybody was making fun of me. But now it appears like my strategy for Biden of hide is conventional wisdom. And here's the point, guys. The fact that top Democrats now know this, that really is bad news for Trump. That's such bad news for Trump because it's all on him now. It's all on him. You're just giving him enough rope and he's going to hang himself. He's already hanging himself. So they figured it out. And just so everybody understands, the best predictor of future action is past action. And Biden hid in the primary and won. And that was against a much more formidable candidate in Bernie Sanders. Now against Trump, who's all over the place, and his approval. There's a poll that just came out. His approval rating's 38% right now. Biden is up on average about 10 points in the national polls, leading in every single swing state except maybe one. So they finally caught on. The Democrats finally caught on. Now, by the way, just so everybody understands, I'm not celebrating this fact. I'm just saying that this is the dynamic. Because obviously, I think Noam Chomsky is correct when he talks about the two-party system, and he basically says, like, any dictatorship around the world would envy the U.S. political system. Why? Because you have two parties. They both represent the same interests. It's two wings of the business party. And you just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, where all you need is one to be so bad that people go, I got to go in the other direction. Got to go the other way. And then if that one's so bad, people go, I got to go the other way. So in other words, you've set up a situation where the dissenting move is to just go right back to the status quo in the other direction. So that's why any dictator would be jealous of this system, because you're just picking between the Democratic dictator or the Republican dictator. The status quo held up by a Republican or the status quo held up by the Democrat. Corporatism from the right or corporatism from the left. Imperialism from the right or imperialism from the left. And they're all part of the same elite ruling class. So I'm not celebrating this notion and this idea that Biden doesn't even have to do anything to win this election. I'm just telling you that's the dynamic. That's what's happening. I mean, I wish we lived in a system where we had more viable options. I wish we didn't have a two-party system. If we had ranked choice voting, I do think the vote share for either the Libertarian Party or the Green Party would immediately shoot up massively, and they'd get over 5% in these elections for sure, and then you have a long-term goal you could build out on that. But unfortunately, the way the system works now with the two-party duopoly, as it's called, this is what we see. You want the piece of trash from the right or the piece of trash from the left? You want the Republican or the Democrat? So, it's a damn shame, but this is unfortunately where we're stuck at the moment. And Biden's prospects have never looked better, and it's not because of anything he said or did.